Hi, I'm Robin Stienberg. Welcome to the National Quiz Choice Say Hyatt. And here I have Dr. Darren Zook with me, who's going to share with us about his upcoming work in progress regarding the security in Asia. Dr. Darren Zook, thank you for joining us here
Thank
again.
you.
And being a professor, in the state of California University in Berkeley, I heard that you're working on a new first material, I think.
Yeah.
Which is about security in Asia.
Yes.
Tell us more about it.
It is a work in progress. It's a manuscript that I hope to turn into a book. And it's one of the reasons I'm here in Singapore. I've been here for 6 months. I've been really fascinated by watching the regional body, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, really move into uncharted territory. And the reason it has moved into uncharted territory is largely because there's a whole new security environment here in Southeast Asia. ASEAN was originally started as really an organization to try to facilitate economic development. It wasn't really supposed to do much beyond that. But going back to the 1990s with the emergence of new security threats, whether it's terrorism or economic espionage, what have you, ASEAN realized it was going to have to do a much better job of holding Southeast Asia together as a region, which pushed ASEAN into political fields, legal fields, and military fields that it was not really designed to handle. So you've seen these really interesting institutional changes in ASEAN, especially with the charter in 2007, that have kind of forced all the countries of Southeast Asia to sit back and say, okay, what are our security threats and what are the solutions to those security threats? Now, some of them are more obvious. Some of them are things like piracy. What's the issue with piracy? Well, everyone knows what piracy is, but most of the waters in Southeast Asia are shared by countries. So what happens if there are pirates in Indonesian waters, you give hot pursuit, and those pirates go into Malaysian waters? Can the Indonesian Navy go into Malaysian waters without having to request permission? Right now, you couldn't do that. The Indonesian Navy has to stop because you're not allowed to take your Navy into someone else's territorial waters. And so there's been this whole talk of, what do we do with issues like hot pursuit? How do we get our navies to cooperate, our coast guards to cooperate, our air force to cooperate, things like that. But there are other issues that are actually more challenging. One of the things I've worked on since I've been here is the issue of cybersecurity. Some countries, like Singapore, have a tremendous amount of their national assets in a form that is open to some type of cyber attack. So the question is, how much is the wealth and the financial transactions in Singapore, how much are they caught up with making sure that the cyber systems and cyber protection of the other economies of Southeast Asia are brought up to par, and who's going to pay that bill? And so cybersecurity has become a huge concern. Just this morning, for instance, the head of MI5, British intelligence, made an announcement saying that he thinks there's going to be an unprecedented level of cyber attacks. And he didn't name them, but he was pointing out that most of them are going to come out of China. They're looking for weaknesses in other systems. So regular security, cybersecurity within Southeast Asia, but since I just mentioned China, one of the other things that's been quite interesting is to watch how Southeast Asia has tried to pull together as a region so that they can, in essence, negotiate as a united front to outside threats. Within the Asian context, China and India are the two countries. Southeast Asia is kind of stuck right in between, and China and India work to kind of court the alliance of Southeast Asia, and Southeast Asia wisely, I think, has tried to not become too strongly allied to any one group, and that's China, India, or even the US and Europe. The idea is we're going to kind of chart our own path, but they can't really do that unless all of Southeast Asia comes together and they figure out that there is a common pathway to follow. And it's been kind of interesting to watch how ASEAN has slowly tried to create an ASEAN path and get all the countries of Southeast Asia to follow that.
And so that will be your new and upcoming material.
That will be exactly. I'm trying to figure out exactly that. I mean, there's multiple layers of security in Southeast Asia, starting with cybersecurity, going to military security, and everything in between. Some of it's domestic, some of it's international.
And what inspired you to pick up this subject?
Well, I mean, I've always thought of Southeast Asia as one of those areas. Anybody who works in Southeast Asia knows how important Southeast Asia is. But most people, when you talk about Asian security, they will focus only on China. That'll be the issue. Maybe North Korea as kind of a threat, but China is the central issue. And I think it's actually far more valuable to look at a region like Southeast Asia or to look at a country like Singapore that have tremendous potential to influence all the security parameters in Asia, and yet we have far less focus on this region. So I think what drew me here is to look at, it's like everyone's looking at China. We kind of have a better idea of what China is doing, but what's happening in Southeast Asia? And I've been here for 6 months. It's been absolutely fascinating to be a part of it.
Well, Dr. Thank you for joining us here at the National Critics' Choice, and thank you for joining us once again here at the National Critics' Choice. Save Hyatt, Robin Stienberg.